Coming up now in your spoiler-free wrestling news rundown, we've got a lot of news to cover in this video, including, is House of Torture still part of Bullet Club? We've got matches announced for Capital Collision, and we've also got all the news from AEW and Impact Wrestling. Subscribe to Spoiler-Free Wrestling for all your wrestling news. It was a huge night for Bullet Club at Wrestling Dontaku, the 9-year anniversary of the faction that originally debuted at Wrestling Dontaku in 2013, but not every member of Bullet Club was on hand for the celebrations. Now, of course, there were some members of the group, such as Chris Bay or El Phantasmo, who simply weren't in Japan for the show. But then there were the members of the House of Torture, which also weren't on hand for the post-show attack on Kazuchika Okada and the return of Jay White. And it has many people wondering what the future of House of Torture is in Bullet Club. Now, if you go to NJPW1972.com and you look at, say, Evil's profile on the website, it still lists Bullet Club as his faction. But has this offshoot group of Bullet Club fully left the faction? I want to know what you have to say. Do you think House of Torture is still in Bullet Club? Do you think they're leaving Bullet Club? What is the future of House of Torture and Bullet Club? Let me know in the comments section. Bullet Club Day falls on May 3rd every year, as it was May 3rd, 2013 that the faction formed at Wrestling Dontaku that year. Well, on May 2nd this year, which was on Monday, Bullet Club Day was loosely celebrated on an episode of Monday Night Raw in WWE. Now, if you haven't been following what's going on in that promotion, former Bullet Club leader AJ Styles has been feuding with Edge and Damian Priest. Those two are going by the name Judgment Day at the moment. Well, on this week's episode of Raw, AJ Styles was rescued by his fellow former Bullet Club member Finn Balor, the former Prince Devitt. And after fighting off Judgment Day, Balor and AJ Styles shared a two-sweet in the middle of the ring. Then later, photos of Balor and Styles throwing up the two-sweet hand signal were posted to social media, and numerous Bullet Club members commented. You can see those tweets are up on your screen now. So Bullet Club Day, loosely, kind of, sort of, celebrated in WWE. New Japan Pro Wrestling put out a statement this week regarding the Capital Collision pay-per-view set for Saturday, May 14th from Washington, D.C. As many of you are aware, the last pay-per-view, Windy City Riot, was plagued by technical issues affecting the broadcast. Well, New Japan Pro Wrestling is promising that significant improvements will be made for the broadcast of Capital Collision. Their statement reads, NJPW sets the highest of broadcast standards and is very aware that Windy City Riot, through no fault of FIGHT, fell short of those standards. We deeply appreciate fans showing their passion for NJPW events. As a mark of that appreciation, every viewer of Windy City Riot on FIGHT who purchases Capital Collision will receive 5 FIGHT credits applied automatically at checkout. For Capital Collision, significant improvements and restructuring to our production pipeline will ensure the best possible quality viewing experience that our fans expect and deserve. Refunds will be made available with no questions asked for any technical issues encountered. Speaking of the Capital Collision pay-per-view, we had 2 new matches added to the event this week, one of those being for the IWGP United States Championship. So we will have a 4-way match for the title, pitting champion Hiroshi Tanahashi as he defeated Tomohiro Ishii for the vacant title at Wrestling Dontaku. The title had been vacated by Sonata, who was injured by Will Ospreay in the New Japan Cup. So Tanahashi will defend that title against Will Ospreay, Jon Moxley, and Juice Robinson in a fatal 4-way match. So there's a lot to unpack about this match here. Obviously, Jon Moxley had challenged Tanahashi to a match at Windy City Riot, and so Tanahashi and Moxley was a likely match to occur at Capital Collision. However, With Will Ospreay having to be pulled from Wrestling Dontaku 2022, he's still owed a crack at the United States title, so he's added to the match. And of course, Juice Robinson attacked Hiroshi Tanahashi following the match at Wrestling Dontaku, so he's made it clear that he's gunning for the US title as well. So why not put all four of them in the match together? So Tanahashi versus Ospreay versus Moxley versus Juice Robinson. It should be interesting to see who comes away with the US title from that match. I'd actually like to know who you think is going to win that match. Let me know in the comments section. The other match that was added this week to Capital Collision is a tag team match as Kazuchika Okada and Trent Beretta will team up to take on the somewhat unlikely Bullet Club tandem of Jay White and Hikuleo. Now we know Hikuleo and Jay White have not seen eye to eye ever since Jay White kicked Hikuleo's older brothers out of Bullet Club, so the dynamic in that match should be pretty interesting. Then the other two matches that had previously been announced for Capital Collision are Eddie Kingston taking on Tomohiro Ishii and Brody King taking on Minoru Suzuki. The night after Capital Collision, New Japan Pro Wrestling will head to Philadelphia's famed 2300 Arena for a set of New Japan Strong tapings, and there were 3 matches added to that show this week. The first will see Will Ospreay take on Homicide, and that should be an interesting clash of styles. Jeff Cobb will also take on Willie Mack, which should be a pretty interesting match as well. We'll also see the United Empire team of the Great O'Khan, Aaron Hanari, Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Davis taking on TMDK, Jonah, Shane Haste, Mikey Nichols, and Bad Dude Tito. So just looking at the rest of the lineup for that show, also announced is Jake Something versus Brody King. QT Marshall from the Factory will take on Carl Fredericks as the Factory versus LA Dojo feud continues. David Finlay will take on Danny Limelight. Killer Cross will take on Yuya Uemura. JR Kratos, Jarrell Nelson, and Royce Isaacs will take on the DKC, Kevin Knight, and Alex Coughlin. Chris Dickinson will take on Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Minoru Suzuki will take on Tony Deppen. Moving on to AEW news. AEW World Champion Hangman Adam Page cut a promo on Dynamite this week that has a lot of people wondering if the champion actually just turned heel. Page has been announced as defending that title at Double or Nothing against CM Punk, and his promo this week focused on how it would be easy for him to talk about having respect for Punk and how they are going to tear down the house at Double or Nothing, but that's not what he was going to do. He said that there would be no, quote, masturbatory Bret Hart tribute match on the pay-per-view, and that it was going to be a fight, and it was going to be the fight of CM Punk's life. So there have been some reports that this was a heel turn by Hangman Page. I'd actually like to know what you have to say about this in the comments section. Let me know if you think Hangman Page was turning heel with this promo. But with that in mind, I'd like to go back to some comments that Tony Khan made in November about the booking of baby faces and heels in AEW. Tony Khan was on Wrestling Observer Radio last November in the build-up to the Full Gear pay-per-view, and he was asked about having clearly defined baby faces and heels in AEW, and he said that it doesn't always make sense to do that. Here's what Tony Khan said. I think there are a lot of times where it makes sense. Look, MJF versus Darby on this pay-per-view, that is one of the matches I'm very excited about. It's very clear who is the heel in Darby versus MJF and who is the babyface. So I think that the show is stacked with great matches, and I think one of the things that makes AEW great is that not every match is necessarily the black and white heel versus the black and white babyface. There are matches where it's very obvious, and there are matches where it's less obvious. So it seems as though AEW doesn't want to go down the road of having strict babyfaces and strict heels. So with Hangman Page and CM Punk, you have two of the most popular wrestlers in the promotion. You can argue that they are both clearly defined babyfaces. But Hangman Page made a point of saying in this promo, he's not going to have a respectful babyface versus babyface build up to this pay-per-view. So I want to know what you have to say. Was Hangman Page turning heel in this promo? Other notes coming out of AEW Dynamite last night. We now have the official bracket for the men's Owen Hart Foundation tournament. We have 7 wrestlers confirmed for the tournament, and there will be one Joker surprise entry, who I guess will be named at a later date. The tournament begins next week on the May 11th Dynamite from Long Island. So the brackets are Ray Phoenix, who qualified by beating Dante Martin on last night's show. He will take on Kyle O'Reilly in the first round. Samoa Joe draws the Joker in the first round, so he'll be facing a mystery opponent. Jeff Hardy, who also qualified for the tournament by defeating Bobby Fish on last night's Dynamite, he will take on Darby Allin in the first round. And Adam Cole will take on Dax Harwood. That's the double. There were also some significant developments for the ROH women's division and the AEW women's division that took place last night on AEW Dynamite. For Ring of Honor, Mercedes Martinez is the new unified ROH women's champion. She had won the interim title at ROH Supercard of Honor, and then on Dynamite last night in the main event, she defeated Deonna Purrazzo to unify that title. And for Purrazzo, she's now lost 2 titles recently. She also lost the AAA Reina de Reinas Championship to Taya Valkyrie. So, also, moving on to the AEW Women's Division, we have a title match officially confirmed for Double or Nothing. Thunder Rosa will take on number 1 contender Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb recently defeating Hikaru Shida in a Philly street fight, moving her up in the rankings and helping her earn this title shot here. So we've got 4 matches officially confirmed for Double or Nothing. We've got the AEW World Championship with Hangman Page defending against CM Punk. We've got Thunder Rosa defending the AEW Women's World Championship against Serena Deeb. And we also have the Men's Owen Hart Foundation Tournament Final and the Women's Owen Hart Foundation Tournament Final, although we haven't even kicked off those tournaments yet. The Dark Order's Stu Grayson is gone from AEW. He had originally been with the company since the very beginning at Double or Nothing 2019. Now, unlike with Marco Stunt or Joey Janela, this was not a case of AEW simply not wanting to renew his contract. Apparently, AEW did make him an offer, but they could not come to terms on a financial deal for him to continue with the promotion. Dave Meltzer wrote on Twitter, regarding Stu Grayson and AEW, his contract has expired and both sides could not agree to a money figure on a new deal. Grayson wasn't being pushed, but inside the ring, he was one of those unheralded guys who was great at timing, technical work, and a highly underrated flyer. So Stu Grayson, gone from AEW. AEW. With Cody Rhodes having departed AEW for WWE, the Roads to the Top reality show will not be airing for a second season, and in its place, AEW is planning a new reality-based program. TBS sent out an email recently asking fans for their feedback on a name for the show, and they described the project as follows. AEW's top performers are ushering in a new behind-the-scenes wrestling series like no other. Every episode will track our core cast on the road at AEW events as they try to hold on to the titles they have or win back the ones they've lost, with everything culminating at the biggest pay-per-view event of the year. They all hope to walk away champions, but there aren't enough belts for everybody. Heroes will rise, villains will fall, champions will be crowned, and with more access, more star talent, and more drama than ever before, we'll see it all through the eyes of the biggest names in the company. And they are asking fans for feedback on several possible names for the show, which are up on your screen now. And AEW fans hoping that Roderick Strong will join the promotion and be reunited with Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish. Well, they are going to have to wait at least a little while longer for that to happen. It was reported this week by Fightful Select that Strong has requested his release from WWE, but it has been denied. They wrote, "We're told that Strong has grown frustrated with many things over the past year within the company and had requested his release, which has been denied by WWE." Of course, Strong's wife, Marina Shafir, has been wrestling in AEW as of late. She even challenged Jade Cargill for the TBS Championship. So unfortunately for Strong, he re-signed with WWE at an unfortunate time. It was just before NXT turned to NXT 2.0. So Roderick Strong going to be remaining with WWE for a little while still. AEW is facing a lawsuit alleging that the company violated the Americans with Disability Act by not having a way for visually impaired and/or legally blind people to use screen reading software to read the website content on AEWshop.com. This is very similar to a lawsuit that was filed in October 2020 by a different plaintiff regarding WWEshop.com. So it is very likely that this is a lawsuit that will be settled out of court, but we will keep you up to date on any developments regarding this case. Also on AEW Dynamite this week, they revealed 4 matches which will take place on Rampage. Rampage will actually air in a special time slot this week at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and this is to make way for the NBA playoffs. Here are the matches that have been announced. Konosuke Takeshita will take on Jay Lethal. Tony Storm and Ruby Soho will team up to take on Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Hook will be in action. He'll take on JD Drake. And an Owen Hart Foundation tournament qualifier pits Riho versus Yuka Sakazaki. We've also got 4 matches in one segment booked for next week's AEW Dynamite from the UBS Arena in Long Island, New York, where they love Maxwell Jacob Friedman. And we will see MJF in a segment. He will take part in a contract signing with Wardlow for a match that likely will take place at Double or Nothing, although that has not been officially confirmed. Then we've got 4 matches booked for the show, including FTW champion Ricky Starks defending that title against Jungle Boy. CM Punk is going to take on John Silver. Then we will have 2 matches in the quarterfinals of the men's Owen Hart tournament. We will see Adam Cole versus Dax Harwood and Darby Allin versus Jeff Hardy. That should be a very interesting match. The Women of Wrestling or WOW promotion is set to hold television tapings this week, but it is now no longer clear if Tessa Blanchard is attached to the project or not. Of course, Blanchard has wrestled sparingly in the last couple of years after a series of allegations regarding her backstage behavior were released. So, according to a report from Fightful Select, there has been a falling out between Blanchard and WOW. Blanchard at one point had been hired to not only take part in the show, but also train new talent. According to Fightful's report, there was an issue regarding a class that Blanchard was leading where she tore apart one of the wrestlers who she was training, and that then led to a cancellation of those classes. So we will keep you up to date, but WOW is said to be holding tapings this week, but we're not sure if Tessa Blanchard is still involved in the show or not. Actor and former member of the WWE creative team Freddie Prinze Jr. has talked before about wanting to start a wrestling promotion. Well, he was on his Wrestling with Freddie podcast recently and gave more details about what he plans to do. So Freddie Prinze Jr. does plan to start a new wrestling promotion within the next 18 months. He wants the show to be 2 hours in length. He said he has the money for a 3-year plan. The storylines will be based in reality. Men and women will be given equal time on the show. He wants to own the space that the show is filmed in. It would be a SAG show, so that's the Screen Actors Guild, and the performers would be union. And he does not have a TV contract yet, although Freddie Prinze Jr. would have plenty of connections in that industry. So very interesting. Freddie Prinze Jr., he wants to get into promoting professional wrestling. It's a big couple of days for Impact Wrestling. They have a show on tonight on Access TV, and then on Saturday they will present a show from Newport, Kentucky, Under Siege, that will be available on Impact Plus. So matches announced for tonight's show include a Monsters Ball match between Jonah and PCO. If you've been following their rivalry, it's been pretty good, and this match should be decent as well. We will see Tomohiro Ishii take on Steve Macklin. Brian Myers will take on W. Morrissey, and W. Morrissey had a good showing on AEW Dynamite this week in a match against Wardlow. We will see Rich Swann and Willie Mack team up to take on Bullet Club's Jay White and Chris Bay. We will see Ace Austin, who will be in the Best of the Super Juniors coming up later this month. He'll take on Rocky Romero. And in a match on Before the Impact, we'll see Giselle Shaw take on Tennille Dashwood. Then on Saturday at Under Siege, we will see Alex Shelley take on Mike Bailey. Chris Sabin will take on Steve Macklin. Tasha Steelz will defend her Impact Knockouts World Championship against Havoc. We will see a 10-man tag pitting Bullet Club against Honor No More when Jay White, Chris Bay, Doc Gallows, El Phantasmo, and Carl Anderson take on Eddie Edwards, Kenny King, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, and Vincent. We will see a rematch for the AAA Reina de Reinas Championship as Taya Valkyrie defends against the former champion Deonna Purrazzo. We will see the Impact World Tag Team Championships on the line as Violent by Design defends against the Briscoes. And for the Impact World Championship, we will see Josh Alexander defending that championship against Tomohiro Ishii. And that's going to do it for this video, everyone. We'll be back Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time with a new video. Subscribe to Spoiler Free Wrestling for all your wrestling news.